29 on my.
Not according to the computer. It's slow. Yeah, that one's too.
That clock up there is
Got
slow.
7:30. I got 7:30.
And it's 7:30.
is.
Yeah. It's 7:30. Okay. I'd like to call the workshop meeting of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission to order. And Ms. Aruba, would you call the roll, please?
Mike Kavler,
Here.
Jenny Manson, here, Tom Need,
Here.
Brittany Hopper, here, Lou Greenwell.
Here.
Alan Zako.
Here.
Thank you. All members are present this evening, and our alternate Alan is also present. Alan will participate in the discussions, but will not be voting tonight since all 5 members are present. The first, just looking in the room here, we have no members of the public present in the room. Did anyone join us online? Looks like it's just Louis and Alan.
Didn't see anybody else yet.
Yeah, so there's no members of the public participating online either. If members of the public join us, then I'll go back and review the procedure for the meeting. But in general, let me just make a general statement at this point that insofar as the conduct of the meeting, we would ask that members of the public would come to the podium to be recognized, and their participation will be limited to the public comment sections on the agenda. We are expecting Scott to join us shortly from Delaware Regional Planning, and we will be reviewing then the revisions that have been made in Article 22, the sign regulations. Before we get to that, let's take a look at the minutes. With regard to the hearing minutes from last week, May 5, it has been pointed out already, need to state it for purposes of the minutes, that the motion to approve or recommend to the trustees for approval application HDCC 2505 that was moved by Joni Manson and seconded by Brittany Hoprick was not included in the minutes, so that will be added. Any other additions or corrections to these minutes?
For me.
All right, here seeing and hearing none, would a motion to approve then would be in order as corrected.
Motion to approve as correct.
Thank you, Louis. And a second?
Second.
Seconded by Joni. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is approved. The hearing minutes are approved as corrected. The next quick item will be review of the minutes for the regular meeting on May 5. We have those. Are there any additional corrections or questions about those minutes, since we have all received them electronically to review online?
I do want to call out at the very end of the last sentence where it says Miss Hoprick moved to adjourn. The word asked is still there, crossed out.
Oh,
Just
okay.
remove that guy. That's
He'll take care of that, yeah. Anything else? Okay, then a motion to approve the minutes, regular meeting minutes, please, anyone? Motion.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Louis. And a second?
Second. Oh, that Brittany second.
okay.
Seconded by
Okay.
Brittany. Moved by Louis, seconded by Brittany. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, then would you call the roll, please? I'm sorry, you don't need a call roll. Not for this. I should have maybe done it on the minutes, but probably not. We had a roll call when we approved the motion Monday night, last week, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That would have been a roll call vote
hearing.
for approving the motion to move the recommendation forward to the trustees.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but we don't need a roll call vote on this. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. All right, the motion to approve the regular minutes is approved. And the minutes are approved as corrected. Okay, that's done. No new applications are going to be received this evening. It appears, unless someone shows up late. So we're ready to move into a discussion of the signs, but let me actually switch that around and just make a couple of comments about the new business items. We're not going to have discussion about those tonight, but I wanted to have them distributed to you so that everyone received them and that you understand that you have the original versions. And I'm double checking this again with Ashley. The originals that are here are the ones that are currently posted online. And then we've got the revisions. But unfortunately, Ashley told me she's not able to do red line kinds of copies for these. So you don't have strikeouts showing the changes that were
Whoever
made.
created the forms, whatever system they use is not great for like. Maybe
But-
preference. So I will probably just be completely recreating
doing
them
them?
once they're edited because they're hard to edit.
I have a Word document.
Do you know?
Yeah. Cause I turned them into a PDF.
Okay.
So, cause PDF is hard to deal with.
Well, and Adobe.
Well, that's why she,
Adobe is what we do all of our forms in, and Adobe is a stinking nightmare.
Yeah.
Like you have to have one text box, you gotta move to your whole stinking screen, so it's just,
I can
I mean,
send,
it's workable, but it just takes,
I can send you the Word document.
that would be great.
now when you
They
say,
originally in Adobe and then I had to recreate them in Word. And then I had to turn them
And that's
back
exactly what I
into-
was gonna be doing,
Mm.
and I was, this is just gonna take forever. So if you already have
well,
it,
if you
yeah,
already
thank you.
did that, then it
Yeah.
would be good.
I would greatly appreciate that, cause that was gonna be one of my projects this coming week.
So what we have are a revision of the application for the amendment of the township zoning map, the overlay application, and the revision in the procedures. So that the procedures now, in terms of submitting the application, would match the forms and conform with our recently adopted changes in the zoning resolution. So we're planning on having these on the agenda for discussion in detail by going through them. I want to make sure if they're all acceptable the way they are, great, but if not, we'll make any changes needed when we meet on June 2nd. We're not going to spend time discussing them tonight unless we get finished with signs very quickly. That would be nice if that could happen, but we will not continue our meeting past 9:30. At least the target date for ending the meeting will be 9:30 because we limit our workshop meetings to 2 hours. So with that said, anybody have any questions? All right, let's go to the sign article then. Mike, thank you for coming tonight because there were some questions that you had, and we hopefully are addressing those in these revisions. Back to you now, Scott. I understand what you did with the documents. I don't know whether you want to spend any time explaining it again or explaining it to the commission, but I don't know if anyone was confused by it or not, but everything's here now.
Yeah, it's only because first two pieces of paper, the first 4 pages are that first phase we were gonna do. Part of it jumps across, skipped 2203, which initially we had no changes, but then when it seemed like we were looking into all that as well, then phase 2 kind of went back and picked up 2203 and then
Yes.
just put some things out of phase, but I mean, we can go in the order that they were handed out.
Well, what I'm going to suggest, Scott, if it seems like a good way to do it, is we would go ahead and deal with sections 2201, 2202, and unless there's anybody that has something that needs to be addressed with those 2 sections, then we'll consider those finalized. Sounds good?
So,
All right.
try.
So on,
2201 and 2202.
yeah, I just wanted to ask Mike if he's had a chance to read the definition of sign and whether if that's a workable definition for you, or if you want to read it, let us know.
The one that right here,
Yes. It says Article 4 definitions.
that whole part is what you guys want to put in there, right?
Yeah,
Everything under definition.
we currently don't have a definition in the zoning resolution, and this is one that Scott came up with.
Read this a few times. I think it's workable.
Question in relation to the definition of a sign. What about, is this more, are we thinking? Is this anything, or like, you know how sometimes you see signs on the side of the road, like where people put up like, do not spray or whatever, like, is that part of this then? Like that kind of sign, like,
Guess it would depend. If it's a farmer doing it, it's not gonna be part of anything.
okay,
But I guess it would depend on where it's at. Because the majority of those things I find in the right of ways.
Yeah.
And they immediately come out. But I don't know. That is a good question. Like, don't spray the grass, don't spray the weeds.
yeah,
I mean,
Or like the don't mow.
yeah, don't.
Yeah, like don't
There's a
mow.
lot that say like don't mow and they're permanent signs. They're
Yeah.
like metal.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of them.
But is that,
I haven't seen them here in Harlem Township, but I've seen them in other places. They're like metal, I mean, like permanent metal signs say like, do not mow this grass.
and is that grass in the right of way or is it on private property? You wouldn't know, you'd have to survey. it, you know.
Right away.
They're in the-
yeah, I mean, I guess it technically would be like the
Yeah,
ditch.
it would be in the right.
And
of way.
basically, they're signs for, yeah, the maintenance people,
Yeah.
I know
road
there
maintenance
used to be
people.
one on Worthington Road. Like as you come down Worthington, where it dead ends, you kind of take that sharp turn and it kind of goes downhill. There used to be a sign right there. I don't know if it's still there, if somebody hit it, but. There was always one right there that said do not mow.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, they're trying to establish wildflower
Yeah.
things or something.
Sometimes
They are on the
the,
right of way, technically.
the county and or state will put one out, but private property owners do it as well. He said a problem. I mean,
Good question. I mean, do we want
I was like, how does
It's in
that?
the right of way.
fit in?
my feeling about it at this point is we leave it at the way that it is, and then if there becomes an issue, we'll have to deal with it. But I don't know that it would ever become an issue.
I found that most of the people in the township, if I go up and talk to them about an issue I have, they're well within their rights to do. They try to work with me and get it straightened out. I'm not gonna let them put them in the right of ways though. If they
Yeah.
don't want that, I mean, they need to talk to somebody if they don't want that grass sprayed. We can talk to our maintenance guys and we can fix that up. If they want somebody else, they can fix it up. I don't think we need a lot of signs out there in those right of ways. So I guess your answer would be no, I don't like it. Eventually, there'll be a lot of them out there, and then once we allow them, we
Yeah.
can't. It's hard to disallow.
But to that point, I guess, is part of this definition, they are in the right of way, because it's
Yes.
part of the road right of way, so I guess that would
There's
be.
no
Yeah,
sign
if they're in the right of way,
They're in the right of
you
way.
can
they're- they're gonna
remove
move
them.
out.
And the question came up before you got here, Mike, whether or not that applied to the political signs, and
Yes.
you and I discussed that, and you said, yes, it applies to
Those signs are
all
allowed on the right of way,
signs,
'cause it
anything in the
opens
right of
up
way,
for
political
liability.
or otherwise.
Yeah, it just opens us up for liability. Not to mention people will want to try to push the point on it. Some people, I'm not gonna say everybody, but push the point on what they feel political is. But it just, we can't have them in the right of ways. It's just dangerous.
Right.
Not to mention, it's dangerous for me and the maintenance guys to be pulling the side of the road, throwing flashers on, getting out and yanking them out.
Yeah,
So Mike, when it comes to the right of way, we have authority on all right of way in the township, no matter whether it's a state route, county route, or just township routes.
Yes.
okay,
That's
so,
not who you talk to.
Yeah.
You're smiling, so I'm wondering, do we really have authority of state right of way?
If it's in the township and it's in the right of way, I mean, Scott, you guys don't allow stuff in the right of ways either, right?
Well, I mean, we don't, but we don't.
You don't police. it.
We don't do that. I mean,
Well-
it's not our thing. But you mean the county? I think everybody kind of expects everybody to work together.
Yeah.
And keep each other's right of way clear. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably not a written policy anywhere, but I think everybody kind of tries to help each other out. I mean, I would say if it really came down to it, state handles the state rights away, but I mean, even on the maps, sometimes there's no difference between. It doesn't say the state stops here and the county starts here and it's just all right of way.
Yeah. and
People
most
know
don't.
what roads they're
yeah,
on.
and if you want to know what the distance of the right of way is, if it's a state highway, you have to check with the state. If it's a county, you check with the county, township, check with the township, so. And the state right of way does change sometimes.
Like, we don't do other maintenance in, like, mowing in the state right of way, do we? The only time we would have any sort of thing like that is if we had an agreement with them where we shared, they did some maintenance on our end, we did some maintenance on them.
Yeah.
Is
But
there,
they do work hand in hand because I had the ODOT crew down there on the roundabout down there and they were plucking signs out of right of ways all over the place.
Yeah,
Just rolled by them and said, feel free to go ahead and pluck the rest of those around. They said, we will.
is there any reason to consider illumination as a sign? So, I mean, I come from a place where people will have very powerful spotlights just shining up in the sky, circling around.
Why?
Are those signs?
I've seen that.
Like the bat signal,
no, those are lights.
essentially. You
It's
know what I'm
business
saying?
Trying to attract attention to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it.
Would you consider that a sign?
Their function?
But I consider it a sign, but
Noxious light.
I don't know if it's, exactly following it, but if they're not shining it at anybody, they're shining it straight up. I don't know. It's a question, Scott. Does anybody ever regulate that?
Not that I know of, not under the sign.
Doesn't sound like downlighting.
No, it's definitely not that. It's up like.
All right, so coming back now to where we were on this first page, the definitions, and then 2201 and 2202. We can consider these to be finalized, that page. Hearing no objections, fine, then we'll move forward. 2203 is in the other document. Permitted signs not requiring a permit. Okay. Let's start going through this. We have some changes.
Okay. Do you want to do that though, or do you want to just go ahead and go through the stuff you've already talked about once or twice? 2204.
Oh.
Well, I was just trying to keep it in order.
Sure.
Yeah, but we're gonna get into one whole conversation about the
Yeah,
22.
it feels like we might be able to kind of finish up these other ones.
All right, 2204.
Sure.
That's what
All
I.
right, we'll do 2204 first. That's fine. Thought about going that route too. We'll do 2204. And then we'll come back to 2203. Thank you, Scott. Now, with 2204, these are permitted signs requiring permit issued by the Harlem Township zoning inspector.
I apologize, I guess, I mean, now that we got one draft in red, I didn't make changes in another color. I just realized you can't really tell what I changed. And I scribbled quite a bit, so I hope I caught everything.
I should cross-check my notes versus what you had, and I think I agree, I think you caught everything. The only thing I wanted to ask, so what we added, we duplicated in 2204A and B, I think was that line about no such sign will be in harmony with the building on the site, will not detract from the appearance of the general neighborhood, yada, yada, yada. Would it make, so we have it, we put it in both of those sections. Would that make more sense to include somewhere else as like a more like general, like overarching, like requirement of signs? I don't know if there's a more,
No.
Regulations.
like a general regulate, yeah, or does it have to be like, or do we have to repeat it in every single section? I don't know. I couldn't really determine like where it would best fit. So open to suggestions. But I think that kind of sentence, that's our general thought behind signs in general. And it seems to be applicable to everything. I'm wondering if there was somewhere in the article that we could put that.
So which one are you talking
Now,
about?
it won't be applicable to political signs.
Yeah.
True.
Got so many
That's a
copies.
good
of-
Will it be applicable to Harlem Township heritage signs?
It'd be,
What are these?
it's the
If you put it in
second-
a general area where it applies to everything,
Oh.
then
if you look under A, the first paragraph has two sentences in it. It's the second sentence. Such sign shall be within, should be on the top of page 3.
Top of page 3, second sentence. I mean, I'm okay leaving. I wanted to raise the question.
residential subdivision identification signs. But that paragraph is only applicable to those signs.
Sure,
I
but
can't-
that second sentence also appears under the commercial signs too, around.
Oh, yes,
Actually, that's where it originally came from. It's in your current.
right.
Yeah.
And these are for the issuance of a permit, so we put it in a real general sense, then it applies to everything, all the temporary signs. They don't require a permit. So, not sure that we want to do that.
I mean, are you sure though? I mean,
Well, this, right now, doesn't this cover,
it's a pretty general sentence.
well, but doesn't this cover just about everything? What would it not cover? The way that it's written now, from your
Signs
perspective.
not requiring a permit.
That's what this one is, right?
That's
Well,
what-
right now, we're talking about permitted signs requiring a
Correct.
permit.
Right, and then.
And that's why I'm
2203
saying,
has
if
signs
you put it in
don't
somewhere
require-
else, are you saying you want it to apply to all signs, even those that don't require a permit? Well, if they don't require a permit, then judgment about whether or not it detracts from the neighborhood. So if somebody puts up a temporary sign like Harlem Township Heritage,
That.
it doesn't
that's
conform,
listed-
you
that's
know,
listed over
blue
here,
and white
but
doesn't conform to the neighborhood. I don't want
doesn't
it.
require a
Make
permit.
a complaint to him.
Good.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a good idea to have it be applicable to everything.
Okay.
But I understand what you're thinking about, but what's left out isn't it just the temporary signs? Or signs that don't require a permit?
I mean, these are specifically to residential subdivision sign, identification signs.
I think these are the bigger signs that will be more obvious, so I think it's safe to have this only mentioned in these two sections, even though it probably makes, it makes sense. You don't want any sign to detract from the neighborhood, but either way, that's going to be a judgment call by
Oh, yeah.
somebody. It is very general. It would almost, yeah, I mean, it could go even in like a preamble kind of thing at the very beginning under purpose. But again,
I think these are completely different from temporary signs.
Yes, they are. Oops, I forgot to turn it down off.
Well, and I suppose in general regulations, we do have, sign colors and fonts should also align with, the rural character of the area. So, I don't know, maybe we do kind of cover it in more detail in general. If no one else feels strongly about it, we can move on.
All right, let's see if it comes up again as an issue as we get to the other types of signs besides these two. But right now then, the language for A and B and what we had revised previously in 2204 are these changes now to the point where we can say they're finalized. Anyone not in agreement with that, speak up, please.
One question we've talked about, large signs mounted on single posts as being typical of a suburban type of strip mall. I don't know where I see that or where you show that in here. You were talking about single post mounted signs that are really not obtrusive. It would not fall afoul of these regulations. But I've been driving around and looking at these monstrous single post signs. You go, no, it's definitely not what we don't want.
Okay.
But they're 20 feet in the air,
They're what?
20 feet in the air.
Really?
in other places.
Yeah, not here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if
I think
you drive around strip mall and it just, it's all you see is out by the road.
Okay.
That type
But
of
we've got
sign,
maximum height, so we're good.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, that type of sign would not be permitted under our regulations.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
So
2204, now we'll go back to 2203.
I've got a question about 2204.
All right,
It's a small question.
well, that's good. No, what's the question?
Or comment. There, it says in that paragraph, the permitted signs requiring a permit. And it says each application for a permit to erect a temporary or permanent sign. And then all the rest of the signs that are in here, mostly, they seem to me like they are permanent signs. They're not, do we have a definition of temporary sign? I think the definition between a temporary and permanent? Because
Should we just,
all the ones that require permits seem like they're permanent.
because they're
Not
like,
temporary.
they're all like ground mounted and stuff.
why don't we just remove a temporary or permanent, just say
That's what
erect a sign?
That's what I was gonna suggest, but if we really have a desire to permit temporary signs, that doesn't,
Well,
I can't imagine what that would be.
the idea, I guess, might be that a sign could be temporary, but a temporary meaning for 6 months.
Well,
Why don't we just remove those words and
It's not permanent, not there on a total permanent basis. Maybe, is that what someone had in mind?
we could just say each application for a permit to erect a sign. Just take out the word temporary or permanent, and that way it's clear.
Yeah, I don't see why
Within
you
this-
do all this work for a temporary 6-month sign of having it placed on brick or stone wall or similar architectural feature kind of thing.
I don't disagree at all. Let's take it out unless someone objects.
Oh,
So both permanent and temporary.
Yes, just,
That's
we
fine.
take both of those
Fine.
out, and it's assumed that the signs that you're building is ground mounted residential subdivision, they're likely gonna be permanent. But we don't have to say.
Where is that being taken out?
That's on
Page
page two,
two, right?
very top.
2204.
That's all.
I'm agreeing with it because it's a general way to take care of it, because we will get to a point where there are temporary signs that require a permit. So
Yep, yep.
it's not like all temporary signs don't require a permit. I think it's good, the way you solved it.
Let me ask a question relating to that then. Potentially temporary sign. Do we want to, maybe there's, it could be addressed other places rather than it being here. But for example, the church over on Harlem Road has put up a sign advertising their Bible school. It's not a permanent sign. It's going to be temporary. Because once the Bible school is finished, I know their intentions are to take it down. Does this mean then that there's no regulation that would apply to that sign? If we take the word temporary out of here.
I think you were saying that their temporary does come up in other places, just not in the subdivision part of the regulation.
This particular section. Only talking about permanent sign.
2204, we've got wall signage.
Before we wander too far. So I think that would be covered under permitted signs not requiring a permit.
Here you go. We got a whole section on page 4. I forgot that we had that.
No, page 2,
Page two of
temporary
the-
signs announcing special public or institutional events. Shall not exceed 20 square feet per side. So you can say, you can do a sign, it's temporary. You know, it says 7 days after said event. I don't think anybody's gonna be driving up there 7 days later, but maybe. I mean, I would be careful with churches anyway, but I mean, I think that.
Well, I'm
gives
not,
them the
I'm,
ability to
I'm,
put up a temporary, you know.
I'm using it
sign.
primarily as an example, but also like, I think you're gonna have a temporary sign go up when, and we got a whole section here that deals with temporary signs.
Mhm.
It don't require.
Yeah,
That-
they do require a permit.
So
They're
under-
under, it's under 2204. It's F.
Yeah, that's what I said. We were gonna get to there eventually.
Yeah.
But that's more for the real estate signs that we were concerned about last time. So the big ones that go on. Usually a wood.
And
panel.
this is written and directed primarily toward that. Yeah. Guess the question then would be, are there other kinds of temporary signs that we would want to, that a permit would be required for? Well, we can get to that when we get there. But do we want to delete the word temporary then from this introductory paragraph?
Yes,
Yes,
We're gonna
Taking
delete
out-
temporary and permanent,
yes.
delete both.
That way it just says sign.
And these are just for the ones requiring a permit.
We're just saying what's needed to be submitted with the permit.
Or sign. You just say sign, it could be either.
But you're
or.
gonna,
Signs that are,
so you're gonna delete, starting with each application for a permit to erect a temporary or permanent,
No.
sign. Gonna delete that whole
No.
paragraph?
we're
We're-
deleting the words temporary or permanent,
3 words.
just those words. So it's gonna read, each application
Oh.
for a permit to erect a sign shall be accompanied by those things.
These 3 words get taken out, Mike.
So what we're looking at deleting is to erect a sign. So we're deleting temporary or permanent.
Correct.
Are we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Great. All right. Unless someone brings up an objection, we're finished with 2204, the intro paragraph. We're finished with A, we're finished with B. And we're going on to now come back to 2203. All right. Hey,
So the first added text under 2203. I didn't know if anybody thought that was a good idea or not. Applicants are encouraged to register signs with the township with no fee. I don't know if you'd rather not mess with it.
Actually, I would mess with like, that's fine, because that gives me a chance to tell them, keep it out of the right of ways, do this to make sure that they follow line. Just like we don't require a permit for fences in part of township, but I get calls all the time, and I give them a lot of guidelines for what they need to do.
yeah. Because a lot of those real estate signs, they sometimes put up in the right of way. I've taken them down when they're on my property, well, in the right of way on my. And I brought it over and put it by the door. I've done that before.
So I spoke with Joe Schaefer at Genoa because as we had talked about, they had redone their whole code several years ago after the big court case came out. And so essentially you have to be careful not to regulate the message, just size and location and shape and that sort of thing. So
for all signs or just political signs?
for all signs.
All signs.
So I asked, how do you deal with these real estate signs? Because I think we spent a lot of time talking about that and how much frontage and whether it was single family or multifamily. And I thought about all that, but really, I mean, multifamily gets to be basically a commercial use. So I didn't think it was good to go by use as much as just if you cover the signs that people get for free or whatever, and they stick in well, they're not free, the real estate agent brings them, I guess, but those would just be permitted because everybody just does that. But then if you actually wanted to put the 2 big posts up, which would usually be a commercial use or which would be multifamily. So instead of trying to cover that under a use, that's why the larger temporary signs, which would be the real estate signs, are under, you have to have a permit so that it can be tracked how long it's been up.
Makes sense.
Those are my introductory.
So I do want to call out one thing in relation to temporary signs not requiring a permit, which would be a real estate sign, temporary sign not requiring a permit. In Genoa's article, as well as the Genoa in Michigan, they both have regulations around the time that a temporary sign can be up. So I personally don't mind the way that you have structured the real estate signs, but being that it is a non-permitted temporary sign, I would like to see some sort of time limit put on it of how long it can be up. Like, for example, Genoa says such signs shall be permitted to be erected without a zoning permit for no more than 90 consecutive days. I think there's some other thing, there's something else in here now. They said, highlight that part, something, another temporary sign about 45 days. I think maybe that was the Michigan one I was thinking of. But I would like to see some sort of time. Hence,
Or the smaller ones.
yes.
Because the bigger ones have that.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to make sure that that's the one you were talking about.
I haven't thought through the ramifications of this, but I've been thinking that any resident in the township should be entitled to put up a sign of a limited size, a yard sign on their property, 1 yard sign on their property anytime, and not without regulation and without permit. It's their property, they're putting up a sign, they're not putting up a string of signs along the whole right of way. One sign, one piece of property, go for it. Anything you want to say. And so if we can do that, I don't know if it'll make things less complicated. You just say, you get one sign. Tell us, but we're not gonna bother you about it. Is that okay?
What are you thinking they're gonna want to put there?
Whatever they want, you know, a graduation sign, selling eggs. Although that might be ag. Yeah, the kids are graduating, or they're having the roof done and somebody wants to put up a sign. It's on their property, they're resident,
Dinner's ready. Dinner's ready.
so.
It does smell good.
Y'all wanna go to
I don't
dinner?
know, you guys don't smell, but I can smell it
Already.
here.
What are they making?
I don't know, but I can smell it. It's also good. Always smell my own.
That make things harder or simpler?
No, it doesn't, no. I mean, if that's what you think that we need out here, I mean,
Let's-
I know, why?
we do have some. of
Why
stuff
put
out
that
there
into the
now.
regulations?
Just so the zoning inspector
I don't-
wouldn't go after.
I won't go out there and have somebody take down the graduation signs, as long as they're not in the right of way. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't do that.
If somebody
Maybe
puts
somebody
something
else
up in
does.
their yard,
You could pretty much
unless
put
a
anything
neighbor
up now.
complains, nothing's gonna happen.
I feel like it wants the signs like profanity or something like that. Like
Well, they wouldn't do
graduation
that.
signs are kind of harmless, but like, you know, somebody wants to put something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I don't
up,
know,
that would be-
Scott, can you limit language if it's profanity, or can you not?
There's probably some other code somewhere that you could do that.
You could decide,
Nice.
'Cause that's freedom
Um,
of speech.
Yeah.
well, what's that going to fall under?
I mean-
Are you talking about it's a non-permitted, I know I'm using that term badly there. It's a sign that can be put up without permit. Permitted signs not requiring a permit. Or I'm not sure, maybe do we need that word permitted signs?
Could it just be signs not requiring a permit?
Yeah, just drop the word permitted and just say signs not requiring a
God
permit.
added that for a reason for some, didn't you?
Did you put that in for some
Because it's
reason?
red.
There are
I know,
required-
it is in red, that's the reason I said.
Oh,
Not really, I mean, when you're talking about graduation signs, that'll fall under temporary.
But I'm not
signs.
sure. Under, at 2203, the first
Maybe
one is
that's-
permitted.
Maybe that's a bad example, but somebody wants to put up more than just a sign for the week, you know, and it's not just it doesn't just identify the location or the family who's living there or a business that they're running. It's a message. You know, have a nice day. It's gonna be up there permanently. But it's a lawn sign, so it falls within the size. It's on their property.
Yeah.
Why give them a hassle?
I would,
Is it more though, if somebody complains about it, that it's is it better to have a regulation to fall back on?
I mean, it's always good to have something in your arsenal, and my department is complaint generated.
Yeah.
So, unless they're in the right of ways.
And so you jumped from, maybe you didn't mention graduation, maybe somebody else did, but then you went to permanent sign.
Well, but they'd be more, I mean, somebody's putting up a lawn sign, a 12 by 18 lawn sign. They may intend it to be permanent, but it sure doesn't look like it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's not built to withstand, it's not built to be there 5 years. Maybe they've printed up a bunch of have a nice day signs and they want to keep a have a nice day sign up all year round. Or a Merry Christmas and they want to leave it up all year round.
Go for it.
Who knows? And they got lots of them. They're probably going to blow away. They're probably going to deteriorate over time. They're leaving it up year round, but it's really, it's mounted on a little wire that's probably going to break. They're going to hit it with a lawnmower and it's kind of temporary, kind of not, So do we want to have something that regulates how long they can tell the world to have a nice day or have a Merry Christmas?
They're trying to regulate
Yeah,
messages again.
I don't
right?
really, yeah, I don't really think we need to regulate that.
Because I think in general, all this is somewhat covered under definitions, that second paragraph. Second part of that, which says, nor shall these regulations pertain to such items which are typically displayed for celebratory and or decorative purposes.
Okay.
Which may be typically erected seasonally or for a one time. I mean, it gives. On the one hand, you can come down hard on somebody that isn't being seasonal about it, but on the other hand, if you have flexibility, I think. I mean, everything's challenged eventually, but
So does the definition already offer
it
that
already offers-
flexibility that Tom is mentioning?
Yeah, if
I
we're worried
think it
about
does.
deterioration or anything, we've got wording in here talking about if it's falling apart or deteriorating. So,
and you're gonna, I mean, and you all know this because you do this. A lot of you have done it a lot, but can't regulate everything.
Right.
And you'd be here nonstop. And you
Yeah.
don't want to do that. And you can't regulate bad taste. either, or good taste. So somebody's gonna put up a dumb sign. You just gotta hope that it's not, every other. And when it is, I guess sound like we're ignoring a potential problem, but at some point you just have to hope for the best.
And you have to remember the golden rule that Corey tells me. Like, just because it's in your resolution doesn't mean you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's not, you can't.
That would be a lot. I mean, that's all Mike would do if would just be driving around. I mean, like even with the little temporary signs to put a time limit on them. Who's gonna drive around and write, okay, they have a nice day in their yard on January 2nd. All right, I'm gonna drive back around in a week. Okay, it's January 8th. That sign's still up. Take it down. Like,
Maybe it's a different
Unless
time.
you're a neighbor that's really bothered by
unless
it.
it's a neighbor that's super
For
bothered,
some
then
reason.
they would complain and then Mike would be
Have a
looking
nice
into it. But otherwise, Mike's gonna have to drive every single road in this township and mark down every single sign in the yard. Cause if they're not permit signs, they don't have to come in and talk to him about them being put up, so he doesn't know when they got put up if he didn't drive past it.
They could go out there and move it too,
Yeah,
and say it's a new sign.
Oh, yeah.
Like Louis said, if they got 100 of them.
Yeah.
Same sign.
yeah.
So let's circle back to the original question. Because I think it's pretty easy if we wanted to add a simple sentence after that real estate signs. That says such signs shall not remain in place after X number of days after the,
Are you talking about in 2203A,
yes.
that paragraph?
Because the question was, can we limit how long those signs stay up? Which I don't know. I think that self-regulates because once you buy the house,
Well, yeah, it
Motion to
says
take-
that up
take it
there.
out.
It's got 10 days after the property has been closed, sold, rented, etc.
oh, okay.
If it's a single.
It's
well,
already
we're
there.
going
Say
back,
that.
If it's a single family residence. If it's a multifamily apartment building,
We're gonna deal with it somewhere else.
We're gonna have signs up all the time. Whatever,
I mean, I think
I'm
we,
gonna let it go.
I think we tell, you've got 10 days after it's
Yeah, I
rented, leased.
tried across that because so what, yeah.
What is a typical lawn sign? What, 18 by 24, 12 by 18? I don't even know.
You measure the ones in your, that you put out last time? That you had in your truck?
They are 24 by 32 in Harlem Township heritage signs. And so a typical lawn sign is smaller than that.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be closer to, 24 was tall. So probably more like, guessing maybe 18 tall, maybe 24 wide.
Well,
So
I envision
6
like,
square feet per
6
side, I guess, you're looking at 2 by 3.
that's like a real estate
Yeah,
sign,
that-
like a
that's a-
normal
Yeah.
real estate sign.
Right.
I mean, 2 by 3 sign. That's a,
Do we want to limit the number of real estate signs?
Real estate signs, that, in that paragraph. What changes, if any, do you want in that paragraph?
I think,
Nothing?
I think Brittany is suggesting we at least talk about limiting it to one side per frontage.
Agree with that. So we don't want somebody lining up 6 for sale signs across the front yard. I mean, it's
Just
so
be
kill
obnoxious.
anyway.
Yeah, but
It's
you don't
really
want to,
trashy looking. I
you don't wanna see it.
Do it, but people do that.
Or like when they put 24 rent signs in front of
Yeah.
an apartment building.
move in.
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
yeah.
it's different.
So,
I would not be adverse to limiting the number.
And if they have 2 frontages,
Family home, why
yeah.
don't you do it?
per street frontage.
Yeah,
in
I
case
was
they're on
gonna
the
say,
corner.
depending on the corner.
So what's the sentence you want added, Brittany?
Scott's been working on one.
I'll figure out a way to put one sign per street frontage. as
So
long.
it's on the corner, they could have 2.
this is the country, we don't have streets, we have roads.
One
I
sign,
heard.
Not going over periods and commas. Here, and that goes under periods and commas, sir.
Roads and streets?
You're already an hour into the 2-hour meeting.
Yep.
You don't have time for that.
so it'll be something along the
I'll
lines of
see.
1 sign per street frontage on the property.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
Run out of your alone. The meeting, Brittany, you're done.
All right, so we're finished with paragraph A.
Yep.
Going on. And Scott's note, it is now deleted. You understand what he did with it. Okay. Paragraph B was moved to section requiring a permit. And paragraph C would now become B, I guess, wouldn't it?
So what-
Vehicular
what
signs?
does this actually mean?
What?
What are these vehicular signs?
Incidental signs pertaining to vehicular pedestrian control on
And-
private property.
In, out, drive through, exit.
But these are all on private property. They'd be outside of the right of way.
But visible from the right of way.
Well, hell, everything's visible from the right of way. You can't count.
That's the definition of a sign. It's visible from the right of way.
But these don't require a permit. Like, so if I put like a stop sign, like next to my garage or something.
Well, there's one.
Well, there are some
Yes.
private,
Be a weird
there
one
might,
to
there
do,
may be
but
private drives and private streets where these signs would be up to.
But even on 605, there's a driveway with 2 pointer dogs facing in and 1 pointer dog facing out on the next driveway. I don't know whether they have two driveways or they're sharing two driveways and whatever, one in, one out.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, they're close to the road, so you can see them. If you were to turn in, I don't think they're in the right of way. They're,
I know exactly what you're talking
So are these,
So there's no
Are they-
changes on vehicular signs. We're finished with that. We can go on to D, political signs.
about. Are you, Tom, are you proposing to change that?
you know, I'm saying, I'm
are
okay.
they bigger than 2 square feet of
Uh,
area?
2 square feet is pretty small.
Yeah, so it's like. it'd be
They are
quite
pretty small. They're like, they gotta be.
Yeah, 2 square feet isn't
Yeah,
big.
but one of them is, I mean, I didn't bring my
Ah.
computer.
I
If
mean,
it's the size of a monitor. that's-
1 by 2 is 2 square feet.
Yeah.
1 by 1 is just 1 square
Yeah.
foot, so.
Maybe
Want it to be bigger?
4?
I'm
I
okay
mean,
with
just to be
two.
more realistic.
I'm fine with keeping it small
Fine.
Okay,
and like,
All right.
but
So-
there's signs, there's a lot of signs say private property.
yeah, like a private property or private drive or no turnaround. Like I've seen those before where people put a little sign at the end of their driveway that says no through street or, you know, that's what this means.
Speed limits on long driveways. I've seen a lot of it.
Chicken crossing.
Yeah, if the sign becomes too big that it interferes with visibility,
The
then
chicken is
that
the
becomes an
vehicle.
issue. But that language is in there.
Vehicle.
All right, so B, we are finished with now. We did not change the size. We left it at 2 square feet.
Yes.
D, the political signs become C. There's no change. Except we've already deleted a lot of,
And I think we kind of talked about that, right? Just
yeah,
Simple about it. and-
right, exactly. And then,
Do you need to put anything in political signs in relation to not having it in the right of way?
No, it's in general,
Is
it's
it-
in the general regulations.
Okay. All right.
And does it
Carry
have
on.
to be decided by public election? Yeah.
What?
It says similar matters to be decided by public election. I'm thinking not everything is decided by election. And still political.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be decided by election. It's really anything, say politically out there. Can't touch.
I mean, public elective office, yes, but an issue or similar matter. Maybe or maybe not decided by public election. I would strike that. Six words,
Right, to be decided by public election.
yes.
And do we want to put a size limitation on that?
I don't think we're allowed to, but I'd really love
I
to
think-
see that.
Well, if we're allowed to put a size limitation on these other signs, why can't we have a size limit? If it's not permitted, we're saying somebody could put a political sign that is 4x8.
and
Yes,
they do.
they are out
It
there.
would be 20 by 20.
And
They
do we,
put 'em up.
are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Are we
We don't
allowed
have
to
a-
regulate?
Have no
Yeah, I think
choice.
so. I don't know that we're allowed to.
We're allowed to say that a real estate sign can, I mean, we're saying that a real estate sign has to be this size. It can't be any larger than this size. We're saying that a no turnaround or private property sign can only be two square feet.
Mhm.
Why can't we say a political sign has to be the size of a yard sign, not the size of a billboard?
Because it's freedom of speech,
You ever seen anybody
part of the
try to
Constitution.
control that now?
Well, no, I mean, not locally. I don't know.
Outside political stuff.
I think because it's part of freedom of speech.
You can say whatever you want, you just can't say it too loud.
That's still limiting the freedom, unfortunately.
I don't know, I'm just bringing it up. I mean, we're regulating size in a lot of these things. I think once it gets to be so large, I think we would rather have a permit because it's like safety, or maybe it's traffic, impeding traffic or line of sight, or
Could be,
that's why we want to have a permit for a larger sign.
could be distracting.
Well, if it's-
Oh, they're always
If it's an heating line of sight, then we are gonna say something. I'm gonna say something about it.
Usually they're not.
But
in
if they
right
come
of
in and
way.
they say, well, this is a political sign, you don't have any size restrictions on my political sign, so I can make it as large as I
I
want.
mean, we do have a lot that are posted on the front of garages, that I bet are 4x8.
Well, flags, yeah, they're covered here too, but
Maybe we can get by adding a phrase, shall be permitted in any district, so long as they do not interfere with visibility of vehicular traffic entering or leaving the highway.
I think that's already in the general stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all
I
signs
was
have
In
to.
the
just thinking
purpose
about
stuff.
making it specific to this one, simply because sometimes those signs do get to be, they are during the political season. People do put up signs that are basically 4x8.
Or bigger.
Well, we can come
Then
back
it
to it.
becomes,
We can think about it and come back to it, I guess. I just thought about bringing it up.
Corey, right.
I don't know, do we need to add anything here or just leave it the way it is?
I would leave it the way it is unless we get some clearance that we have some authority to restrict the size. I'm not sure.
Yeah. the
I'm not sure that's
If
mine.
if we have the
Prosecutor's
authority to
office.
I
restrict,
agree, but
restrict the
we can
size of.
certainly relate it to safety issues. Then it's a different matter.
You gotta, yeah, you have to cover that somewhere else. And I think you already do. I mean, we know we got the right of way thing covered. I just,
Well, do
if
we
somebody
wanna put
puts
it-
one up, I think
Is
because
it
of-
covered somewhere else, or do we need to put it in this general statement up here at the top? 2203. Sign, we're talking about, they don't require a permit. Do we need a statement in there that says, no sign shall interfere, with visibility of vehicular traffic entering or leaving the highway?
It's already in general regulations.
If it's somewhere
Light
else,
Interference, it says signs may not constitute a traffic hazard or contribute to traffic.
that's at the beginning, okay.
Fusion with any
Yeah.
traffic control device or create a visual distraction for such motorists.
Yeah, that's under purpose.
No, that's actually under 2208 general regulation.
It's also under
apply to all
2201,
signs.
under purpose.
Oh, it is
It's
under
in
there
a
too.
couple of places, yeah.
So I think we've got it covered.
It says, yeah,
But is there some way that, signs up to a certain size wouldn't require a permit, but signs beyond that size for political signs would require a permit?
I don't,
when it
I
comes to
don't think-
political
I don't-
signs,
Can't do anything.
I think you just say political signs or.
I think we've got, yeah, potentially there are legal issues. A lot more now than there used to be. Let's just leave it alone for now, because we can't think of anything, and I don't want to spend another hour debating, doing nothing. All right.
Doing nothing.
So if you find that there is some way that we could include any language in here governing signs, Scott, if there's anything that you can find that would permit that, you can bring it back to us for consideration. Otherwise, we'll consider this matter then addressed, and we'll leave it the way that it is for now. Okay, so C, the next page is temporary signs. E would become D. Is there anything that needs to be changed there?
I do not believe temporary signs should all have to be located at the site or location of an event. That kind of defeats the purpose of having signs up.
We can just take that out.
Take out that sentence and, like every other sign, they have to stay out of the right of ways. I'm not sure. I don't see. I don't see the point of having to have a name and address of a person responsible for removing signs, or, the time, the period at which it'll be displayed, actually marked on the sign. And if we're saying it can't go up more than 30 days before and it has to come down no more than 7 days after, that should be it.
I think it may be convenient to have somebody's name on the sign.
It's a real pain. And you've got, I mean, with an HDH sign, you got HDH on both sides of it. It's obvious we put it up. You don't know that Louis is going to be out there
Yeah, Louis out sometimes, I'm out sometimes,
Yeah.
Roger's out sometimes,
really don't
Dave's
know.
out sometimes.
You know who put it up and
We-
you know what the date of the event is, so you can do the math.
Well, I
There you go.
suppose if it's like a garage sale sign, their address is.
Is
on it.
on it. Yeah,
They want.
if they expect anybody to come.
If they, so yeah, maybe that's redundant.
Is the word person more of an organization as well, or person or organization? Cause I think you're getting at. Having somebody's name and address versus Harlem Township is on the sign. That's the organization. That's what you're getting at.
It's not a secret.
That's what I'm getting at. You do want the organization at least.
So a sign should designate the the party responsible
Yeah,
for
essentially
the
it's a-
sign.
yeah.
essentially.
That makes sense to me. Who would you call about it?
Shall designate the person or organization responsible.
I want to take the whole thing out.
I don't know what you want to take out. The whole paragraph, just
The
delete the whole thing with temporary signs.
2 sentences at the end that are now at the end.
So essentially that paragraph would stop at 7 days after the event.
Yes, after 7 days, the sign's gotta be gone.
Everything else is strike through.
I'm okay
That would be
with
my preference.
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
Such signs announcing, all right, so we leave it. And after the word event in the fourth line, you want to delete everything else.
I'm good with that.
If there's no one that objects, then that's the decision. All right, going on.
Just one question for Scott. In section 2204 in the boxes. You've got maximum square footage per sign face. This is on page 3 of the document I'm working. So it's per sign face. So essentially this is 20 square feet per sign face. Here you have 20 square feet in area per side. You prefer one or the other, or you don't care?
Are you, I wanna see where
We're
you're
in-
going. Are you gonna
Make
push it back somewhere else?
them the same. Or
He's talking about language again, just wording, grammar, the way that it's worded. That's all he's talking about.
Yeah.
You want it per
Okay.
side or per sign face?
It says per sign face in one place, in area per side in the
Probably
other.
per, probably per sign face.
So we're gonna add the
There are
word
lots of
face.
other places where you talk about per side. So you'll be changing a lot more than if you change this per sign face.
How about per side, side?
Just say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Side.
Okay, if you change it, fine. If you don't, it's fine too.
Well, is the, for a sign that's,
Going on, we're down to farm sign.
for a sign that's 6 inches thick. Is the top a side? No, it's not. So I think per sign face is probably what we would be regulating, not,
Since we only allow 2 sides anyway,
Yeah.
I.
okay, all right, okay,
It's irrelevant.
that's fine.
Farm signs.
I just saw the word advertising and I thought somebody might try to run with that and do something different than what's agricultural.
Yeah,
So I changed that to produce or products for sale.
So someone wants to sell farm raised honey.
It's produce,
all right.
flowers.
So
Can't be more than 20 square feet.
that G becomes E. All right, I mean, I've been trying to read letter these as we go through them. We haven't done that before.
Trust Word will do that.
Yeah.
for us.
No, I put all the, I don't like it
Yeah.
when Word does it by itself.
So we're gonna, are we, like Joni was saying earlier, then, are you gonna change all those places where it says sides? You're gonna change that to side face, or you're gonna leave it sides?
Sides.
All right. And on E, is there anything else?
No, I think just
All right,
getting rid of that advertising.
then H is already deleted. I becomes F. No supplemental advertising. That basically is the message there. Or the regulation
For the government signs.
for the government signs. I don't know. Yeah, we're not really doing anything else, just describing what they are. All right. J, flags, emblems, and insignia. That becomes G. And historical signs becomes H. All right, and now we're back down to 2204, paragraph C.
Now, a political flag that's not governmental agency or political subdivision would be allowed. It's speech.
What?
Oh,
Would not be allowed?
Would be allowed,
so you're talking about flags.
yes.
We defined flag.
Oh, you got a flag, you know. People put up flags for a lot of different things.
Oh,
Personal statements. I support Ohio State, Michigan State.
Yeah,
All right,
can't fly.
going on, we're down to 2204C, wall signs.
These are signs requiring a permit.
still,
Yes, because we're back under
We're back on
2204 now.
Okay.
We were in 2203. We finished that one. Now we're in 2204. Back to
So
that.
remember that
Paragraph
B,
C.
B would be the sign out front,
ground
ground
mounted.
mounted sign. You're gonna have something on the building too, although sometimes I wish they would just do it on the building and not out front, but I think that hard to pull that
Residential
back.
subdivisions.
But a lot of this language is currently in your.
Nothing on wall signs? That paragraph? And then we'll get into the table, wall signs for industrial, commercial, or office complexes. Actual
Office-
cover signs
office
for
uses.
building, one.
And I think you had taken complexes out last time.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oh. Yeah,
It's uses on the other one.
Oh,
all
yeah, I did
signs
it
for
to-
industrial, commercial, or office. It will be complexes,
Here it says uses, period.
yeah,
But in
Wait.
the subject says.
but this one didn't get
establishments.
changed on this page.
So what is it supposed to be?
What's it supposed
Yeah,
to be
the
there?
title of C is establishments.
Do we put uses somewhere? Oh, we changed it under B.
Yeah.
So you
All
just wanna
signs for
make
industrial,
C
commercial,
one.
or office
Uses.
establishments,
I
Uses.
think uses
and it's consistent with the
with this one.
heading, yeah.
So we're changing establishments to uses.
Yeah,
And
To be consistent with B,
Taking out establishments and putting in uses,
right? And then making the table be the same.
and then complexes comes out. And uses goes there.
Yeah.
All right,
No other changes?
all right, going on, next page, page
And-
3.
And we, at least in all the other tables, we don't have, we just have the number. We don't have it written out.
Really? All of them?
I'm looking at, I don't know all of them. I'm
Yeah.
looking at,
Yeah, does look like it,
which is okay
or
with me.
just the number.
Well, let's just decide which way do we want it and be consistent.
I think it's fine, just the number.
Just the number.
All right.
And you know
Got
what? I just, as I read this, I'm thinking, should it say when it's feet, should it say foot? When it's inches, should it say inch? Or should it just be the number? And it's pretty clear in the description because it says in feet or in inches, but it looks weird over there to just have the number. unless you guys are okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay,
I mean, that's the way it is on the ground mounted.
Okay.
It says sometimes you have feet in parens, sometimes in square feet without, but it doesn't have any unit on the number.
Okay.
so we're just going to use the Arabic numerals and forget about printing the word.
Mhm.
And the parens will go out too.
The parentheses would be dropped, yes.
And then in the heading, I think the same thing, probably, you know. Next square footage. Yeah, it's not really a header, sorry.
Yeah,
Let's just be one not to exceed 32.
well, just having the numeral in there just makes it, I think, just cleaner to look at.
Maximum square footage per sign face for each foot of building width. One.
Sign
not to
face to
exceed
side.
32.
Oh, yeah. Maximum square footage per sign face, it's going to be changed to sides, to side, I'm sorry. SIDE. Maximum height. Well, maximum projection from wall 6. Okay. Going on down to D.
The D is, I mean, you don't have to use D because that's something that I pulled over from the overlays for a building that has multiple tenants. And I just used some of the same sizes, although
Oh, so you
Yeah.
pulled that in, is what you're saying. That D, the paragraph D.
We understand, what is a projecting sign? What is that?
Hangs out on a building, right?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
so it's
You know,
not flat against the building, it sticks out from the building.
do we want that in here?
Is there a reason it has to project and not be on the wall?
It's what our overlay says, I think.
It's an option that's available in overlays, but Scott's saying he pulled it into here. Do we want to keep it or do we want to just drop it?
If it was a walkable center and you walked out of one store and you look down, all the signs are out here on the front, you know, like at the outlet mall. I mean, they have something that you can see better while you're walking on the sidewalk, but it may be a while before you see something like that, not in an.
Well,
overlay,
and it
so-
would be possible under the overlay districts. I'm kind of inclined to say, let's just take it out. Keep it simple, right?
Hurt by that.
Anybody have any objections to just leaving it out?
Somebody wanted to be creative, they can always come in and ask. That would give the BZA something.
Then the BZA would have something to do.
They'll be sad that all these signs are.
Subboard.
They won't have to, we're gonna fix everything so BZA doesn't have to deal with signs at all.
So if we take it out, then it's not. Then if somebody is proposing a projecting sign,
Would have to go through the BZA.
they would have to go through the variance because it's
They'd have
not
to do the
described
BZA.
anywhere.
Or get it approved, since you don't have a lot of commercial zoned property now, they could rezone it and say, this is what we want. And as part of that zoning process, the. commission would-
Get it approved as part of that package.
Yeah, that's true too.
So I mean, I would be fine leaving it in, but if nobody else wants to. It's not a problem.
Out.
All right, we're taking it out.
D, con.
So D is gone and E becomes D. Signs for home occupations.
So even though this is black text, I mean, I corrected it with the red, because I found either we've moved things or I think that's just the more current, the more correct reference. But remember that this was under not needing a permit, but I feel like a home occupation would. One more way to know that they're a home occupation. Anyway, that's why it's in black, even though it's moved here.
Yeah, well, I know that there's been some instances Mike's had people have a home occupation and sign might become an issue. All right, no changes? No questions? This next paragraph may take a while. Temporary signs.
Yeah, and we're back.
8:50.
I was gonna say, what's the time look like? I'm cutting you guys off at 9:30.
Time flies.
So this paragraph F becomes paragraph E.
Well, that'll make it simple.
Two temporary signs shall be permitted per parcel.
Can you give me some examples of what this would be? What these kind of temporary signs that require a permit will be?
Larger real estate sign.
Large real estate signs.
It's not specified, though, that it is real estate. So it could be something else, right?
Well,
just asked
would you
for-
consider a utility sign? Well, that's probably, well, a construction site. Those may be required signs.
Well, and here's my question. Does this have any relation at all to the political signs then? And somebody wants to put up that 4x8 political
We
sign?
don't think so.
No, all right. Political signs are exempted.
So the only restrictions, the only thing in this temporary signs that helps people understand what that means is the size and the, how many you can have.
Yeah, if you can keep it up for 365 days, is it really temporary?
Are you adding the extensions together?
And under C, it says in no
Yeah, one-
case shall they be more than 365 days.
If you deal on an archaeological time frame, it is temporary.
Even we have shorter deadlines than that.
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, US
I
23.
guess we're talking about-
A lot, but even it has some signs that have been up quite a while. Not that that's a good thing. I mean, you don't want a sign to be up all the time, but they're not gonna, as long as it's for sale, they're gonna have a sign up. And it could be years.
Well, they would have to get, the first permit is for 180 days. Then they would have to get a second permit for an extension. So now they're up to 360. But then you've got the language that says can't go more than 365 days.
So you wanna say 360 days?
Well, there might be a lag in between, I suppose. I don't know. That's
I would take Brittany's point, we're allowing 180 days. extend it for 100
extension.
Whenever you apply for it, it doesn't, that gap doesn't give you more time. It just cuts into your 360, comes down.
Well, that would make sense to have it say 360 because that's one time and then an extension.
Done.
Well, should it say though, comma, without, in no case shall such sign be erected for more than 365 days unless a new permit is granted. I mean, they can't just, what are they gonna do, go away for a day and then come back and,
That's a big sign to handle that.
what's that?
It's kind of a big sign to take it down for,
Okay,
Few days.
Well, you're saying take it down forever though. I mean, they're gonna keep it for sale.
There.
Like, what if they still
Well,
have
some-
lots in a subdivision that are still available after a year?
Yeah,
They're
there
gonna
are,
want that sign to stay up so that people know. Some of these subdivisions are so big, they take more than 365 days. to
yeah,
build
they
up.
take
So they're
maybe
gonna
2 or
want-
3 years to sell all the
Yeah, I
lots.
mean, like the communities, some varying communities of Galena, they took a couple of years, so those signs were up for years announcing that they had.
So in that case, they'd have to get a new permit and start over
completely
again.
permit.
It says down there that they have to go to the BZA. After.
Yeah, the preceding paragraph says about something about the BZA, yeah.
Yeah, it says no other extension.
No other extensions may be administratively approved, must be approved by the.
Well, this
Board of
wouldn't be an
Zoning
extension. This would be a
Appeals.
new permit.
Oh, I see what you're saying though.
But then what do they do in the meantime, waiting on the BZA, because that could take up to 2 months. From application, I mean.
Yeah, it's
from
true.
Placing the application, then they have the next month where they have the hearing, and if they approve it then. Do they leave that sign up, or do they not get to advertise their?
Well,
selling
do we,
lots
Think
or-
ahead, right?
you know,
Yeah,
when you read that paragraph, is there even a reason to keep the sentence? In no case shall signs be erected for more than 360 days. Why have it?
I think that's already implied, I guess, by the regulation. itself.
Yeah, and then no other extensions may be administratively approved, meaning that the zoning inspector, without going to the BZA.
Must be approved by the BZA. I'm okay with that.
So maybe we could just take that one sentence out.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna delete that sentence.
Okay.
Okay,
Kind of just going back to the beginning, can I put something in there that just sort of in parentheses says something like this includes larger signs for sale or lease? To give people an idea of that's what it's about.
I think would be a good idea to.
We
put
might all
something in.
forget.
Yeah.
sure. No, it's fine. Go ahead, include that in there. All right, then for paragraph D, temporary signs shall not count toward the total maximum square footage of signs permitted on a lot. What?
But it's gonna be up for 360 days anyway. I think it should count.
Are you saying that there could be like a big subdivision sign and then there could be a smaller sign?
That would,
like a
yeah,
lot?
that would be, like she had noted, if you have the actual subdivision sign. Although this, I mean, it's more commercial, but it's gonna apply everywhere. But yeah, you have the sign advertising the development,
The beginning of the development.
and then you have the
Each
sign that
lot
says
is gonna
rent.
Have.
Yeah. Plenty of lots available, Big Walnut Schools.
You're gonna have like the huge one at the entrance of the subdivision, and then once you're driving through, you're gonna see houses pre-built. And then there's gonna be the small temporary signs.
But you don't
on
want,
lot
their
still
entry
available,
sign,
lot still available.
you don't want their entry sign to be reduced by half because this temporary sign is picking up some of that, so. It's
Okay.
a separate.
Now
square
that you've
footage.
explained it,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Once you start building, you don't know what lots are available and what lots are not. If you want a corner one versus the one on a street, they're gonna wanna put little signs in those yards.
Scott, one grammatical thing, the first sentence after the title, temporary signs. I think should read temporary signs, the following temporary signs or regulations dealing with temporary signs. Because everything else
Yeah.
reads signs, signs, signs.
Yeah.
So it's not enough, you're not just gonna call it large temporary signs, you know, hope something else for the title.
The title won't change, but the first sentence will include some phrase of such as for sale or lease.
Yeah. So no changes in paragraphs, 1D, how about 1E? The sign permit number for temporary signs must be printed on the sign at a visible location.
Yeah, I don't, now that I see that, I don't know where I got that, so. Unless they all have a number and they're all Unless all signs have a number and they're all
Yeah.
printed on the sign. I don't guess that is necessary for
Well,
this.
this is something new. Have you issued,
I mean,
do you put numbers?
Yeah, I guess that's what the, from whatever code I got it from. They must do that.
Require that on all these temporary signs.
I mean, if it's a specific development, I'm gonna have a record of whether they have a sign there.
Yeah,
Maybe we don't need E.
that's what I'm wondering. Same thing, wondering if we need it. From your perspective as the zoning. inspector. Okay. All right, then we'll take it out.
Yep.
Okay, 2205. It says reserved.
Only took you guys 10 minutes. Wow.
We get ahead of boy.
Well, that's just because that's that whole section. I mean, at first I tried to cover, hey, if it's a variance, it's still gonna go to the BZA, but I thought that people know to go to the BZA for that anyway, so it's really not necessary to be there at all.
And basically
There's nothing in here then.
deleting.
Yeah, there should be nothing left that they would have to go to the BZA for, right?
Right. Unless they just want to break a rule.
So can we just delete then 2205?
Yeah.
And then move that number forward to 2206 becomes 2205. Site and road identification signs. That work, Scott?
Sure.
But you're gonna have to,
Cascades down.
yeah, you got at the bottom of page 1, provisions of section 2206. And then if
It has to be,
Yeah.
that would have to be changed. Yeah, it'd have to be fixed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's on page
page,
1.
page 1 of,
Yeah.
of 2202.
One of 22.
Yeah, he's got it noted there to check that
Yeah.
if the numbers change. Yeah, so we're good.
I was hoping they wouldn't though. If that's the only place, then
Yeah, because, but
Search
well,
hotel.
obviously, if we're not gonna have any information in 2205, we're not gonna just have it in there as reserved.
yeah.
Okay. 2206 becomes 2205. Site and road identification signs.
I know this looks like a big mess because I don't know the history of this whole section of your code.
I don't know either.
But I mean, it was, a few pages and I tried to dig through and make it
Tried
be
to make it make
easier to
sense.
present. Essentially, it's when a house is under construction, I guess you guys want a temporary sign that says what it is. I don't know if you do, but I always see those signs where somebody spray painted the,
Oh, yeah, so the
Address.
construction workers
Yeah.
can find the location.
I don't know. And then when it's permanent, I mean, again, I don't see this in other codes. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be there. I don't know. Somebody put a lot of effort into putting it together.
Hmm.
But one is, while a house is being built, then when it's permanent, and then under B, when the road is being built, I've always thought, that's on the construction guys to have the road names up. I don't know why the township needs to know the road name before the road's actually in place, but if you do, fine. But then when it's permanent, I don't even know why you'd have regulations because county's gonna make the road name be up when it's ready. And then CADs aren't supposed to have their own signs anyway, or we don't allow those to be named and the auditor doesn't either. But there was a whole section about naming signs and shared driveways and CADs, which I don't think you want to open that door and people start naming stuff. Then EMS gets confused.
Are you suggesting we could possibly get rid of 2206?
I think it seems like something that happens without having to be regulated.
In favor of it, remember?
But-
Yeah, because it's not something that the building enforcement is gonna make sure those signs are there, right? Well, temporary and permanent. County engineer is gonna make sure that,
Yeah, I mean, putting your street address. I don't know how that happens, but I know that, at some point. I don't think that's a zoning thing.
I don't know who does that.
I mean, you do it on your own volition if you want your mail to be delivered, right? You put
yeah,
your,
the,
Yeah, but you
Like
gotta
your
get, you
address
gotta
on
get a
your
street
mailbox.
number from the county engineer.
what's
Or
that?
or you gotta get a street number either from ODOT or,
Oh, yeah,
I mean, when.
the mapper.
There was no address for the park. And I think it was the county. No, it was ODOT. I mean, it says state route. They had to assign a number.
I think the engineer's map room does it regardless of what the route is.
But it's not us.
Right.
If we can get rid of 6, what's
well,
fine.
this,
Why do
I don't
we
think
need
the point here was to assign the numbers. I think it was just to make sure that there's a sign, but
Someone will come put a sign. Someone came and put a sign on my mailbox when my numbers came off. I don't know who it was. One day I had a little green sign with my
Probably
address
the
on
fire
it.
department.
but if you
I don't
took,
know,
so,
somebody does it though.
so
I'm telling you.
the rub would be if you didn't like the green sign and you took it off and you put a pink one there, then this regulation, if we keep this, then the regulation says, no, it has to be green. You can only have green address signs.
Yeah, but
have
that's
a
the
green
fire
address
chief.
sign?
You can't have pink ones.
Fire chief does that.
Don't have one?
it's just,
I've seen blue ones, yeah.
Because they're different, it's the different lengths of the driveway.
They are in different colors. Some of them, I've seen them, yeah.
It's through the fire department.
Mine's green, but I've seen
So,
other colors out there.
so if someone took their sign, if someone replaced their address sign with a different color, then the fire department would probably come
Yes.
replace it. They would, and our zoning code would never even be consulted.
Yeah,
I have to say we
You
get rid
fire
of 2206.
The more you know.
They never gave us one. They didn't give us one.
well, I think it was the numbers on my mailbox had come off,
No,
like, cause I had just moved in. And it was
Yeah.
vacant for a long time. So,
So for the site identification signs,
we don't need this.
what's the recommendation that I'm hearing?
Get rid of section 2206, all of it. The
Deep
entire
6,
section,
deep 6 it.
The
Gone.
whole thing,
the whole thing,
A and B?
A and B.
What about C for common access driveway
He
signs?
says
He said that.
it's not, he wouldn't allow it.
Okay,
A, B, and C. The whole section
so
is gone.
we don't have a 2205 then. We stop with 2204.
Does that mean that there are this whole thing,
We still have a 2207,
2207.
which would now be 2205.
those are prohibited signs?
Well, no, we may, 2207 would become 2205.
Yeah. But do we need to enumerate that in the classification of signs?
Yeah, of course.
We have signs which require no permit, signs which require a permit, and signs
That are
which
prohibited.
are required, and we're saying there's no such thing anymore.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
I got you now.
But we're saying there are signs that are prohibited.
Okay, so we're gonna delete this whole section. 2205.
We could make 2206 very short and say those are the signs that are required and make them have the write-up be, you're required to have a address sign, you're required to have a street sign, but
don't
it's
come-
not our zoning code. It's the Delaware County. They're managed by someone else. They are signs within the township. They're required to have them, but it's not a zoning.
But if we put it in zoning and say that it's required, then basically, if somebody does put up the sign, they're not in compliance with the zoning.
Yeah, and I guess they wouldn't really be, if someone takes down their address sign, it's not gonna be the zoning inspector that's making them put it back up. It's gonna be the fire department.
Yeah,
So I guess we can take it out.
okay.
Just the
So
whole thing.
we're
All
going,
of 22.
that's deleted, everything's deleted. And then we get down to 2207, that becomes 2205.
Right.
Okay, Scott.
Well, I didn't,
And then the sign, following signs shall be prohibited in Harlem Township.
which is funny. I mean, this is existing language. I mean, some of this is not, it's not a list of signs. It's just more regular, it's just prohibitions on signs, which is just a grammatical change.
Okay, copy. Yeah,
It's like if you're not gonna mount a sign on a building or structure, that's not a prohibited sign. It's just that you can't mount a sign on a building or structure. Does that make sense? Does it matter? Is it only me that? It's just a funny title, I guess.
Yeah.
I do think under A, at the top of page 9, all signs not specifically, maybe it should be defined. All signs not specifically defined by the express terms of the
Are prohibited.
are prohibited. Because you're not gonna say, now that we've determined some are permitted, some are not
Right.
yeah.
permitted, then it should just be all signs are not defined by the terms of the.
You want the word defined?
Yes.
Do you have a better? I mean,
No,
we
I just
might.
was
I just threw that
making
out.
sure I understood the term you wanted to use.
I was gonna say allowed, but I think defined is probably better.
Okay,
And then you're gonna end it with are prohibited or just end it with,
Well. Are we gonna end each sentence with that?
probably not, but kind of hangs out there.
the
Yeah.
following
Okay,
sign
yeah,
shall
okay.
be prohibited in Harlem Township.
Yeah.
Hopefully the header will be at the top and that way.
Yeah.
You'll see the colon.
Were you thinking about changing I mean, you're gonna change the header or something?
2205 is prohibited signs.
Then this,
But what Scott was saying is that it's not really signs that are prohibited. We're talking about where they're being used.
Hmm.
More than,
Yeah, I think A could start with any signs. D should just start with signs. Signs that are attached or otherwise. I mean, I think they're grammatically different, each one. I can make them more similar.
you know,
Okay.
but.
I'm gonna warn Mike that last month I went to the trustees and asked for permission to put up signs on the fence that around the old concrete plant that we had up last year advertising the food trucks and the farmer's market. And they said yes.
They told me.
And
They
we've,
told me I heard that. I was informed of that.
we do have banners. At Murad's store here, Centerville Market, we've got banners outside of Chalet Pizza. Two, I know for sure.
In front of that chalet over there, is that what you're talking about, that pizza over there in front of off Gorsuch?
Mhm.
Yeah. Got pictures to prove
You're probably advertising like a certain brand of beer.
it. Pizza, I
Pizza
think.
or
Pizza, I
something,
think it's a pizza banner, I think. That's pretty hard.
And we do have,
What does Murad say? He said Sunday. That's what his banner says.
Who's?
The Centerville Market, Mario.
Just Sunday.
It's not because he was closed Sundays and then he opened Sundays and he's got a big banner
Just a Sunday.
that says Sunday.
it should open at the very top in smaller letters.
I
I think
maybe,
it might say just more than just.
but Sunday sticks.
Have a nice.
And this letter C with signs, on rocks and other natural features. The cemeteries all have plaques set into big old rocks. out
Well,
there.
that's,
But this is painted.
it's either government or commemorative. So I think you're okay. Right? The township either did it or,
The Heritage Group did it. Because there wasn't anything with a name on the cemeteries before.
And running down to E, I don't know if I missed anything else, but Highland Souders has got all their supporters, all their
Sponsors.
donors, sponsors with signs on their fences. I don't know if we want to,
It's a governmental institution,
maybe.
school institution.
No,
Could be.
it's not run by the school. It's run
That-
by a league.
Yeah, but the property is owned by the,
Properties owned by Big
So would
Walnut.
it be, so would it go with the property, not with the people putting it up?
Go by the owner.
if the school allows them to do it, then
Okay.
they're the owner.
What else has got?
I just assumed those donor things were on the fence rather than taking up space. Closer to the right of way.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, that's the best place for them.
if you drive up Harlem, Polo Field has one sign nailed to their fence at the very entrance. So instead of putting it on separate posts, he just put it on his fence. I don't see it as objectionable, but I think this might.
It shouldn't be there, it shouldn't be there.
So I'm saying, do we allow it? Because not only because it's already there, but because it doesn't, I don't see where it makes a difference. You'd have to take it off the fence, put two posts in the ground and mount it to the posts.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, why don't we allow signs on fences? I think in that kind of case, it
that,
makes sense.
I suppose they were thinking in terms of chain link fences and, tying signs onto chain link fences like you're talking about doing. But we don't want to do that on a
But that's
permanent
what all the
basis.
donors are at Souders too.
Yeah,
And
so how do we address it?
I don't necessarily have a problem with.
I think what it would point towards is if you have somebody that has a chain link fence in their front yard and they want to put a sign up and attach it to their fence that you can clearly see from the right of way, that it would look trashy if they did that. Well, they got a chain link fence, so it might look trashy already. But it just, I don't know.
It might, with all the weeds that are growing up through
But
it.
like the polo fields fence, I mean, that fits with that wood sign on a wood fence, looks nice.
It's a horse fence.
It looks fine. I guess,
In there that regulates that, so they can do that.
I think the only thing I'd want to really try to avoid is down there at that Sean person's place down there in 605, where he's kind of slapped up boards to pretend to be a fence.
All those kinds, yeah.
But he slaps up advertising signs of various types anyway to actually create the fence.
Yeah, I think there's something in there, part of the, yeah,
Like the fence is a sign.
yeah, something, if it's a big enough sign, it's.
Or somebody just put up a stockade fence and they paint a sign right on the stockade fence. Is that going to be permitted?
I mean, it's still a sign, so it's still
It's
regulated.
a sign then, yeah.
And
It's a
maybe-
stockade fence, but until they paint a message on it, then it becomes a sign.
And you could argue that a stone fence is a fence.
Yeah,
Maybe this isn't a good line to have in here at all.
Right.
Are we leaning to take it out?
You've got Lettuce Works. They've got a huge wooden wall along the side of where they put their flowers up. And it's got a big mural on it. And it's got, I don't know what it says, flowers or something. So it's got words, it's a sign. And it might be 20 feet long. And
But it looks okay.
if it's decorative,
But
yeah, but
people are gonna say, who are you to say whether it's pretty or not? I mean, if I were the owner of that and you said, well, I don't think those flowers are pretty, take it down.
No, that's
Or
not what
to
I meant.
say- Or to say whether it looks trashy or
Yeah.
doesn't, I mean,
It-
if I like chain link fence and I think it looks nice, and I keep the weeds off of it, I can fight if it looks nice. I
Well,
think you guys are gonna be fighting that hard.
if,
people are gonna
if
have to
something's
clean it up.
erected and Mike sees it as being in violation, he issues a violation notice to those people. If they don't want to change it, then they can go to the Board of Zoning Appeals to challenge his, so, I don't know. It seems like as we're talking about this, if we take that out, may be creating more problems. That, sign, that if we were somehow permit signs to be applied to fences.
I guess signs on fences don't really bother me all that much. I mean, I believe fences bother me more than signs on.
Well, and it's,
fences.
but at this point, how many times has it been an issue, Mike?
It doesn't come up that often. I mean, if we want to leave all this in there, that's fine, because it gives you that catch-all, all signs not specifically permitted by the express terms of the Hardin Township zoning resolution. I mean, we can leave the rest of that in there. I don't see anything wrong with listing stuff specifically.
I mean, I mean, with D, telecommunication towers have signs of the owners to identify.
They have to have those.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of writing on those chain link fences. There's dozens of signs about, hazards.
With some stations and all those, they have to identify everything.
I'm not sure that maybe the utility poles and bus shelters, but still, I mean, you can, unless it's done by the owner of the bus shelter or the cell tower, it's prohibited, but.
Yeah. I feel
Well,
like
maybe what we're thinking of in terms of that E being no sign, are we really thinking in terms of it being advertising signs?
We don't want to get into whether it's to identify an address or the name of a company or advertise the polo field.
It could be the name of the company that that installed the fence
Oh, yeah, those
You
are
get
all.
Well, there is a little sign sometimes on the fence.
of the installer or
Yeah.
the company name, so that technically should come off, and I don't think that should. But
I don't really see the point of E, I guess. And I don't, for F, what do you do about the old slate roofs that have like the date in a different color of the slate than the rest of the roof? I mean, that's a sign. Or sometimes they have the owner's names.
Well,
It's an
if
identification.
it's existing, we're not worried about it. And I would call that an identification sign, even if it's decorative. And I think we need a phrase right under the title, unless otherwise defined in these regulations, the following sign shall be prohibited. Because I think there are some of these that are allowed under certain conditions, and to just outright say that doesn't.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that would allow for some exceptions.
I think especially with the, decorative farm
Yeah.
situation. I don't know that it helps with fences. I'm trying to figure out why that would be I know you all have determined, or you've discussed. I mean, a sign's a sign, whether you still have to permit it. I just think it's weird that people think they're gonna get away with, well, I had a fence, so I put this sign on and now you can't touch it. It just seems odd that
Well, it should have the same size and,
yeah,
and color and,
if you're meeting the other regulations, does it matter that it's attached to a fence that might already be there?
you're saying it's prohibited simply because it's too large or the colors are wrong, right? Or whatever the other,
But why just make it prohibited, but simply because it's
just
on-
because it's attached to a fence, like if you took
You
it
might
off the
want it.
fence and put it on a mount, on a wood mount right in front of the fence, it would be acceptable. But because you attached it to the fence, now suddenly it's.
Maybe
not
the
acceptable.
idea was that it would
That makes
be not as structurally secure. I don't know.
I'd be fine getting rid of E.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I'd be fine getting rid of E.
Well, if we take E out, are there going to be problems created because it's gone? Scott, I'm asking you,
Do,
basically.
do we have problems now? With people putting signs on fences that we don't like?
If they're too big. There's another. I mean, we're saying it's got to be on a building or it's got to be in the yard, so this is in the yard. Happens to be on a fence and it's 1 by 2 or whatever 6 square feet.
It-
I'm okay.
As long as the sign itself is of acceptable type, material.
Yeah.
Shape,
Size,
size. Mounting it to the fence versus sticking it in the ground,
I don't
I
know.
don't think there's any room to, or any reason to
Why
fight
distinguish?
about it. Yeah, why? Yeah, just leave it. To get rid of it.
And F,
Now, I don't know. I mean, we just talked about somebody having a long, gaudy looking chain link fence up there. And if we don't have something in there that says that, what's gonna stop him from all sorts of stuff off in front of his chain link fence? Or her.
he's only allowed one sign on the frontage,
They put out a big.
Yeah.
large banner streaming down the front.
whether it's on a fence or not, it's still in your face.
Political.
Yeah, but
If we're not,
it's easy to put on your fence. You gotta go put stakes in the
And you
ground.
can make a sign on a fence by just taking styrofoam
Yeah.
cups.
correct,
and
yeah.
Plugging them in.
Our high school used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the fence coming in up the hill at Big Walnut on the baseball.
So,
field. We used to put
I
all
don't
the time
know.
for people's birthdays or graduation or whatever. And it was styrofoam cups.
I mean, we don't have any interest in that now, I guess we could sit here. and figure out.
So
Yeah, I don't really see why we need E.
Get rid of it.
anyone think that E needs to stay?
Other than aesthetics, I mean, that's all this discussion about is aesthetics. But it gets caught on the rest of the other sign regulations. I don't see why. I mean,
There
I
are
like-
ways, I think, to deal with it as a problem. Because of the sign, it's not permitted. Somebody does a sign. I mean, there are different reasons that he
Yeah.
could come and address it.
Mhm.
If somebody puts a sign on a fence.
Yeah.
Without it being specifically prohibited in all instances.
I agree.
All right, so I'm not opposed to taking it out. No one is apparently.
With F, if we're saying no sign shall be painted directly upon a wall. Well, I think the rest of we don't know how we're doing.
We're trying to wrap it up here if we can, yeah.
I'm saying F doesn't seem to jive with the rest of, we're saying you can have signs on walls. You can't paint it on the wall, you have to paint it on a signboard and screw it
There's
to
an
the.
awful lot of nice murals in some locations
Yeah.
on
And
buildings.
the mail pouch tobacco, over by,
We got 2 of those.
yeah, those are,
So are you suggesting we delete F also?
What if we just take the wall part off so that it's just painted on the roof? That you're prohibiting.
We could,
Shall be painted directly upon the roof of any building? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, who does that?
Basically saying, don't put signs on the roof.
Okay. Shall be painted directly upon the roof.
either painted
of
on the
any
roof
building
and
or
then G is, should be mounted on the roof. So we don't want rooftop signs. Painted on, or
can we
maybe combine those.
combine those 2?
I'm sorry, combine which two?
F and G,
F and
what
G.
were F and G?
The next,
Oh, the next one. I got
G
you.
says no sign
No
shall be
sign shall
mounted,
be mounted upon any roof or,
so maybe combine those, either painted on or mounted
Yep.
directly to.
Now, we do have a new sign in the township on the water tower. Is that the roof of the water tower?
That's a public,
No, that's the sign of the water tower.
okay.
public institution,
Oh, it is
Yeah.
9:29.
utility.
I think we're gonna stop at this point. And
That's a good spot.
That means, Scott, that you can figure out whether you can combine F and G into one or if they stay as one.
Yep.
And then we'll pick up at that point for the rest of the document. There's not much left that we're gonna still be dealing with. I'm hoping then that one more meeting, we can finalize this.
Good.
So, Scott, if you'll go ahead and make the changes that we've got up to date, but up through here.
Yeah.
And then the rest of this will just remain the same for now.
Yep.
And then we'll try to finish getting through the rest of the document. Review these changes and then go forward with what's remaining. And maybe then we can get that accomplished at the June meeting.
You want to schedule this for the June workshop meeting?
Well, we're not on a special meeting, no, just the second meeting in June.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Scott? Oh, the second Monday in June?
No, you guys meet on the 4th anyway? What is that?
Let's see.
That's the first month.
Of June? You're talking July now.
We're talking about picking this
So
up.
second meeting in June would be the 9th, June the 9th. The workshop meeting. Wouldn't be our normal meeting.
Okay.
Time.
I know I will be out of town that day.
Oh, you will be? Okay. Um,
23rd.
well, haven't we got something scheduled on the 23rd?
F.
Not yet. NEF was maybe the 30th. If they are still interested.
Oh, let's see. Maybe not, then hang on a second.
Second.
23rd,
It's our regular.
June the 9th is our regular meeting,
No,
June
second.
is our-
but Scott's gonna be out of town.
He's
June
out of town
2nd
at
is
the
our
time.
regular meeting. June 9th is our workshop.
Regular workshop meeting on the 9th.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm saying, what do we do? Do we have something on the second already, or could we review this? on the
Yes,
second?
we've got all of those modifications in the applications and the procedures that we're going to discuss on the 2nd.
Well, couldn't we just discuss that on the 9th?
Because we don't need Scott for those.
Yeah, we don't need.
We-
Scott
we
on
could
for
switch those.
We can switch the dates. Yes.
Yeah.
If Scott's got the second.
If you can come on the 2nd.
Could you come on
I
the
think
second?
so, yeah. I would have said something. I would have kicked myself if I hadn't said something before all that discussion. I think that's what I had in mind already.
They did come on the 2nd. It's
I
Okay.
thought maybe somebody had said something at one point.
So you'll come on the second and we'll finish this. And then on the 9th, we can discuss the
Procedure.
The
procedures.
procedures and
Yeah.
the applications, yes.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Keeps it rolling.
Yeah, instead of like breaking it up and starting something else and going back to the back again.
Do we have any additional, do you have any additional information about the NEF meeting? Are they still thinking about coming or not?
Yeah.
We're still active.
It's kind of up in the air. They came in and talked to me about, a different option as opposed to going for the planned commercial district. They're thinking about, well, they came to request, I tell you this, they came and requested that I give them a non-conforming use variance.
Isn't that the BZA?
Well, it can be made by me, but I had already made my decision when I went and stopped them.
Mhm.
So I said, well, you've already asked me for that, and the answer is no. So you have BZA to go to, so I think they're probably looking to go there and try to get them to give them an existing non-conforming use.
So moral of the story is they're probably not coming on the second
The
to
30th.
talk about
Well,
it?
not,
The
He didn't
30th.
tell me he wasn't gonna come.
Oh, okay.
He was just saying, he was talking to me, actually, both him and Messer. Mario talked to me about, both of them talking about that, so they've obviously been talking to each other.
Mhm.
Talking about non-conforming use, because they said that there's been other lawsuits out there that says do that. And I guess Mr. Garabrandt on Neff's side was telling Clace that up until the time he sold that property to Neff, he was using that in the non-conforming use way, so we can't say that, 2 years passed and he doesn't have his existing grandfathering in there.
I don't remember Garabrandt doing the same thing that Neff is
He's
doing.
not exactly the same. He's trying to say that this is just what I got from him. He's trying to say he did multiple things there. He did some research, he did some worm farming, he did truck repair, which we all in line with that, but what Neff's doing still, in my opinion, that matters, but in my opinion, still more intense than what was going on there.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the premise they're going on. And whether it flies or not, see. But I did talk with Corey about it. Corey said, that according to our zoning, you can't, the grandfathering doesn't carry from owner to owner. You sell it, you lose it, which is my statement, which is what I told Scott and Mario both. And in other places, it's not that way, but that is the way it is with us. And Corey's in agreement with us. And he's in agreement with me on that. He said that he will back that. And unless something happened that the previous inspector told them they could do that, because that's been said to me too. That both sides had the previous inspector said they could do what they're doing. Corey said they better have it in writing, or they better have that previous person here talk about it. Then it's still up to whoever he goes to decide what they want to.
If they do that and have the signed affidavit from the previous zoning inspector, would the decision be yours to make at that point, or would it be one that would go to the BZA?
I'm not going. I mean, my decision's been made, Mike.
Okay, no, that's what I was trying to clarify. So at this point, then, their option sounds like to me, their option would be, because you've decided no, that they would go to the BZA.
Yes, if they want to go with the non.
And because they're going to be asking to have your decision reversed.
Yes. Or they can choose to go to the option they're trying with you guys. That's what I told them. I said, look, I made my decision. It's a no for me. So you've got two choices.
Right.
Zoning commission or the BZA, depending on what you try to do. So they know that.
Okay, that,
Corey said he's fine with that. And like I said, even if they come in and say, I've got a signed affidavit, or the previous inspector says he gave them that, it's still up to the BZA. And then from there, it'd have to go to the courts.
right. And then they have to go to the BZA before they go to court,
Yeah.
because the court would,
Yeah, after the BZA.
yeah, if they don't use that step, then the court would send them back. Okay,
Corey seems to think we're on pretty solid ground either ways.
all right.
On both.
All right, anybody have anything else? Otherwise, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Louis and seconded by Frank. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, no. We're adjourned
Thanks, Scott.
at,
For your flexibility on the
oops,
second.
9:38. Then we went over 8 minutes.
I know you like it.